Hello, I'm here to talk about burnout today because I'm feeling like I'm inching closer to some sort of burnout, but I do think I've caught it just in time, so I'd like to share with you how I've done that. I've experienced probably, I would say, 3 periods in my life of chronic burnout where I wasn't aware that that's what was happening, and I pushed on with adrenaline, kept going until I just couldn't really do it anymore. And that involved then taking some time off work, a number of months the first time. The second time we were just going into lockdown, and that actually benefited me in terms of the lack of socialization and being able to just be on my own and calm my nervous system down. So that prevented me, I guess, in some ways, taking time off work again. The third time I broke my ankle really severely, and the experience of being in the hospital, the overstimulation, the pain, the healing, all of that really became such a lot of work that on top of day-to-day living, it really didn't feel like I could manage much more. So that also involved me taking quite a bit of extra time off work. And when I say work, that's my counselling work, which in itself is quite depleting to me because of the way I work. I know I work deeply, I don't skim across the surface. So working in an organisation where we are needing to work quickly and see as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, short contracts, none of that suits me. So I'm now working to get away from that. So the experience I wanted to share with you today is really about having to manage the day-to-day demands of life and then what happens when additional things come in, and what do we notice? How do we notice that we're getting overwhelmed and that we aren't really coping very well, and what do we need to do? So what's been happening for me recently, as well as trying to work and working around clients, I've also had a number of different things, practical things. Practical things and me are not great friends in the first place. I do find it a struggle just to deal with the day-to-day stuff of life. I think if any ADHDer would probably agree with that experience, that although I can do it, I have learned over my life I can be very thorough as well. Maybe that's the ADHD part of me. I can organise. I don't do my filing, things like that, but I can organise enough to live my life, have a family, do the practical things of paying my bills, that sort of thing, which I usually set up on just a repeat direct debit so I don't have to remember it or I would forget. But when I get extra things in, depending on what the extra things are, how stressful they feel to me, how much extra effort is needed to sort them, those are the sort of things that then start to, over a period of time, become too much. It's okay if it's, just a day, couple of days, few days, but even when I'm really, really busy, I often need quite a lot of alone time just to, again, calm my nervous system down. And what's happened recently is I've had a rodent infestation in my flat that's been going on for 7 weeks now. And my nervous system has been constantly flaring up, listening out, wondering what's happening, just overactive in that way. Still not completely sorted. I've also had a leak to the flat below me for months, which we've finally worked out what it is and how to rectify it. Again, causing a lot of disruption in my kitchen. So that and the rats, which are similar in terms of the area and the disruption to my calm space, which for me is really important in order to manage other demands in my life, is starting to really, really show. So what I've noticed is the impact being very much that I get very irritable, I'm short-tempered, I get brain fog, I am not thinking as well and clearly as I normally would. This is partly the practical things of I'm not sleeping well, I'm eating more junk food, drinking more red wine, staying up late, all of the things that I tend to do when I'm feeling stressed, and just needing, in a way, just that quiet, calm time for myself. But then that's not conducive with then getting up the next morning and working or looking after family, that sort of thing. So, and I notice that I'm likely to snap at my nearest and dearest. I get I can't stop talking sometimes. It's like my brain doesn't catch up in time before I've said things that are hurtful and upsetting, and then I feel dreadful, and that puts an extra element of pressure on, because then I've got to make it better again, and I feel bad about what I've done and said. And so again, it's just another layer on top of the stresses. So what I'm noticing that therefore was over the weekend that I was just really getting up to here, barely keeping my head above water, and that I need to make some changes. So I think again it's a case of noticing first of all, because sometimes we can just keep pushing through and we're not really noticing that everything is either speeding up, or I was actually feeling, if anything, that everything was taking me so long to achieve it. And then I felt massive pressure of time, because that's one of my biggest stressors. Time management is always an issue for me. So the fact I was taking longer and longer to just, plough through what felt like the mud of doing all the things I needed to do and arrange and sort, and on top of normal cooking and clearing up and cooking again and clearing up, and on it goes. And all these things started to get to such a stage where I really was boiling and bubbling with rage inside, and that's for me a really key and clear indication. It might be tears. I wonder if you notice any of these things yourself, where you're just feeling either completely frozen or tearful or raging inside. So that's the first thing, of just noticing it. Oh, this is really getting to the point where I need to stop. And then I suppose it is a case of stopping, taking a breath, which can be hard to do when we're in that rushed state. So if anything, slowing down, the more we feel we haven't got time to slow down, let's just slow down. I'm just noticing that it looks very wobbly. This is me with my selfie stick. I'm so sorry if that's the case. It's very, very wobbly looking, but it is what it is. So try to then get back into sleeping better, going to bed earlier, not snacking as much. But all these things I think I have to stop beating myself up about, because they are also a way of, in a sense, calming down when my nervous system is really flared up. So it's a really hard balance, I think, and I'm sure so many neurodivergent people would say the same thing. It's, yes, I know I need to go to bed and I need to, eat healthily and I need to do exercise and all these things, but doing it is another matter. And I think sometimes it is about feeling overstimulated. So although we think things like screen time are overstimulating, if anything, they sometimes do comfort and calm us. So it is what it is under stress, but doing what we can to start to get the balance back a little bit. And then I suppose and what comes out of that for longer term is, how can I now pull back a bit? So I cancelled seeing a friend after I'd already had a meeting in the morning. I realised I needed to just have some quiet time. That for me might be that you need to be out with people, but for me it's no. I'm so overstimulated, I need my own time just to relax in whichever way that's going to be possible, in order to then be calm enough to get to sleep. Or I'd be staying up really late in order to decompress, in order then to be calm enough to go to bed and sleep. So start cutting back. Think, what can I literally cut back on? If I've got my neighbour constantly hassling me for updates on the rodent situation and the leak situation, even though she knows the time scale, she's still saying, what's happening? When's it happening? Tell me this, tell me that. And, I've often felt very much under pressure to respond to people when they're doing that sort of thing. Again, it's the speeding up of answer, give me what I need. No, let's not. So, take out the unnecessary responses, take out the things that you don't have to do. Don't worry if you haven't cooked a meal from absolute scratch. Just get some frozen things, try and eat, some healthily, eat as healthily as possible within that time, of not having the energy and the inclination to start chopping and cooking from scratch, but you can get some things in the freezer that you can throw together in a way that is relatively healthy then. And, and even if it isn't, does it even matter for, a little while? It's, just trying to sort of cut back and make things simpler, less onerous, taking less energy, in order to really recalibrate your system and get yourself back, in order to then, I suppose, pick up again if, as and when you can, putting in the things like seeing friends and additional tasks that you might want to do, because that's the other thing. If certainly if you're an ADHDer, you probably want to do lots of things, if not all the things, but it's not conducive to rest and relaxation and balance. So yes, you have to do the things you have to do, but cut them back as much as possible. And then the things that you really want to do what you can if it's going to be beneficial for you and if it's going to be a nice calming activity. But at times it does have to go until you can, regroup, really. So that's really where I'm at this week. So let me know below if there's anything that you notice in particular about when you're heading for a period of burnout. If you're not careful, what do you do at that, if that's the case? And do you have any particular tips that you find helpful in terms of managing the load in your life better?